Welcome, Tim. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your leadership and taking the time to join us.
Thank you.
As always, we like to begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on, as well as our ancestors, those who toiled without compassion or compensation, as well as our elders and community stewards whose shoulders that we stand on as we continue to build and share and learn for our collective liberation. Those who are 40 plus years in the work, we really want to appreciate them. So go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewers and let them know who you are.
Thank you, Blessed. Thank you. Hi, my name is Tim Fray. I'm the founder and CEO of Hospice Group of Businesses. My expertise is working with corporation brands for over 38 years, going on 40 years, knowing what their businesses required. And I develop and train their key players within the hospitality and now the business industry. So I also represent an initiative called Executive Power Up, where we identify, analyze, and qualify Black businesses that are doing well, that are ready for scaling through investments, branding, marketing, whether it's through like franchising or corporate ownership. So that's a little bit of what I do.
Great. So can you tell us the origin of your work, how you got started, and how are you disrupting the multiple ecosystems in Canada right now with that work?
So as far as Executive Power Up, I started just before around 2018. My brother died in 2017 suddenly, and then my other brother, Steve, brother in arms, he died in 2018. 7 months later, my sister died in 2019. My only sister, my dad died in 2020. My mom died in 2021, and my last brother died in 2022. So 3 years ago, after the second death, I realized that our time is short on this earth, and chasing funds, chasing money, chasing business acumen, you know what I mean? What I do, it became less and less important as far as, you know, what am I leaving? So I want to leave legacy. So I realized I had to get back into my community. I wasn't, I'm going to be honest with you, I feel guilty, but I wasn't in my community because it's when you have a mindset from a young age to do business, there's not enough people in our community that's doing the high level business that the corporations that brought me on were doing. So I found it really easy to just fall into that lane and stay there. Like I said, because of what happened in the last 5 years, I decided to take my talent, as LeBron said, and come to South. Well, I'm not gonna say the word, but I'm coming to the Black community, whatever. It sounds cheesy, but it's literally taking my talent and saying, how can I come into our community and start doing what I do well? So I came in 2000, just before 2020, around that time, and I joined 14 organizations. I literally paid membership for 14 organizations all across Canada, and to find what I'm with right now, which is support Black charities. But on the business side of it, I decided to create Executive Power Up, which will hopefully help scale up some Black businesses.
Wow. I mean, my condolences to you and your family for that rough 5 years, but for that to trigger you into such impactful work, we definitely applaud you for that. Can you let us know exactly what the mission and vision is for Executive Power Up?
So like I mentioned before, we want to identify Black businesses, not the ones that are just in ideation, because there's a lot of help for that. There's a lot of companies, like I could name all the different letters, BBPA, you know, BOF, ACBN, you know, BBABC. I'll go down a list. It's great organizations doing wraparound programs, doing, you know, micro funds, grants, even larger grants. But what about those companies that were doing pretty well before, that has 4 or 5 locations, that, you know, they're doing $1.5 million in revenue, but they want to get to the 3 million, or they want to get to 5 million? Who's helping them? And what they found was that there was no one, all the organizations were at capacity when it came to that. So therefore, now I said to Ryan, who's from ACBN, I said, Ryan, I love what you're doing, but there needs to be another arm to it. You know what I mean? That's not going to be dropping off all those people, or forget all those people that you want to be on board, because they don't need that help that you're providing for them. They need more help. So we created Executive Power Up, which will disrupt the way that organizations do their boards and do their actual structure, which is we don't bring on a CEO, a CFO, which is a finance person, a CLO, a legal person, a marketing person. We bring on companies that actually can use their resources and their team to help out scale these businesses. So right now our board is made up of companies. So that's why I think it's a different way of looking at things, but we probably get more things done faster, especially for the ones who are already doing well. We could scale them up much faster with companies than we are with just a board of 6 or 7 people.
Absolutely. I'm very familiar with the model, and I think that it's great that you actually, built it out as a framework to share with more. I think definitely more of the ecosystem, needs to tap into that. So how important do you feel that impact investing and philanthropic innovation is to the work that you do?
So I like to talk about that in the Support Black Charity lens, because working with Anik from Support Black Charities, we talk a lot about the philanthropy and impact, you know what I mean, that the funding that we need. So there needs to be diversity in funding. It just can't be just grants, which if you are familiarized with it, and I'm sure you are, it takes up a lot of time, because you have to actually write the grant, wait for it, execute it, and then you gotta write the end report. So next, and then you wait next year to do the same thing over again, rinse and repeat, like Groundhog Day. So to me, it's like there needs to be more diversity of funding, where you almost have the umbilical cord kind of severed, you know what I mean, where the funding that comes in, it's kind of sustaining you, because it's earned income, I call it, programs. So every program that most associations have should be some form of earned income programs. Nothing wrong with making money. Just because you're nonprofit doesn't mean you got to be poor. And for some reason, I'm not sure why we think that way. Just like church people think that they can't have riches, but they want to go to heaven and have riches. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? While the white man had riches on earth, we should be able to, as non-for-profits, still make money, knowing that it's going to go to next year to actually further our mandate. We could hire more people, we could do more programs. So we need to actually have earned income programs, and those are impactful, I think, funding, not just grants. You know what I mean? So diversity in funding is what we need when it comes to impact finance.
Absolutely. I was gonna ask, what does that diversity look like? Is there anything beyond, developing the revenue streams, or do you have specifics as to what you feel that should be outside of grants?
Yeah, so there's digital fundraising, you know what I mean, that we could do, which is a lot of vendors love to give, especially those who are not doing a really good impact when it comes to DEI. They all want to start the department, they want to grab that one token person, but then when you ask them for the results of what happened, they say, we have to talk to that person. I think he knows more about it, or she knows more about it. So to me, it's like you can use that and say, okay, well, you know what you can do if you can't show an impact that you're having by having the DEI, then why don't you give something? You know what I mean? Therefore, now we can raise money for it, push your name out there. So let's use, for example, WestJet. So let's say WestJet didn't have that, that diversity, equity, and inclusion enough, but they could sit there and go, you know what, we're going to give away 2 fabulous trips to for a family to go someplace, and we can actually put that in a digital fundraising and raise funds around that, so someone can have that. So what we're doing is we're giving somebody a great vacation, but also raising money for our mandates, for our programs. You know what I mean? So if stuff like that, and that's one thing. I mean, there's multiple things you could do when it comes to fundraising, when you come to events, when you come to your academy. So we all have something to teach. So we actually get a sponsor to come along with us and help us teach. Not when you say sponsor, if we're going to be doing workshops and teaching, then get a sponsor with education, get the education school, the boards, you know what I mean, or someone from the education part. And they don't want to get Coca-Cola as a sponsor for teaching. You want to get someone who understands teaching and partner with you in teaching. So we can't all have these workshops and academies and not do it right. We're doing the exact same thing, and we're putting out a link saying, hey, come to me and come on there and check out my workshop, and you get like 50 people or less. But yet, if you go ahead and get a sponsor, you could probably do way more.
That's great. I think that a lot of the community could definitely benefit from that advice. So let me know, I think I already have an idea, but what inspires you most about your current model at the Executive Power Up and what you're doing?
Team, collaboration. I think we talk about that a lot. When I said we, I've been in a lot of meetings, even when you guys did meetings. I think you do a lot of meetings, and I come to a lot of meetings, and I love the meetings. But I always look the next day for a debriefing, the next day for a action plan, and then timeline, and see when it's going to be done. Haven't found that yet. Sorry. I don't want to sound like everyone should know, but when we have meetings, there should be some plan of it to be that whatever we're going to execute from that, we're going to see the fruits of that labor. You know what I mean? So having a meeting is meaningless unless there's something kind of action behind it afterwards. So I don't. It's hard for me to. I love my brothers and sisters, so I cannot. You know what I mean? I don't want to. You know how they say, don't leave any man behind? You know what I mean? So I have that in me internally now. Whenever I want to talk about organization, I really want to make sure they come along. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to talk negative about anyone, but at the same time, we have to be realistic. You know what I mean? We have to make sure that we are doing the things we need to do. Execution is a big part of it. Execution, we have to do it. We have to see impact. We have to see a measurement. How did we do? You know what I mean? What did we do? Can we do better? What did we do well? Let's 10x that. What didn't we do well? Do we need it? Get rid of it. We have to do the analyzation and then of the execution, and we have to execute.
Absolutely. So shifting a bit to franchise development work, as we start to see that being led by not-for-profit organizations, social enterprises, how do you feel that we can disrupt the franchising framework that already exists in Canada? What needs to be disrupted?
So when it comes to disruption, I don't know how that is to be done. I like to see that still, the disruption of franchising, because I know that the franchising model has worked. It still works. It's I build franchises, so I have to be I have to let everyone know that I build franchises for a living. I do franchise development. So what's working now works. It really does. And I'm saying this to say that in the European world, if I can use that word, European world, if it's working for them so well with 1.3 million businesses, I think it is, and we got 27 or 30,000 of those businesses in Canada, a lot of those businesses we're talking about are franchises. Do you know what I mean? It's not, like we want to start a new business, and then we went to 27,000 to 27,001. We want to start another new business, 27,002. Why are we doing that? Why are we finding a franchise, something that's doing really well, and we went and they have one location, we get them to 100 locations because that model is doing so well. So to me, when you start talking about disrupting franchising, I think it's more of how do we actually get funding for those people that really want to get a franchise, get them in the franchise world and business in order to get going. That's why I think it is. It's so disrupting as far as a franchise a plan. You know what I mean? Having an FDD, having a franchise consulting or business developer, having the right team around you. It all still is going to be the same. It's how we get those persons to come in and say, here's $25,000 or $40,000. Here's your franchise fee to get in. We have a huge endowment, a fund that you can actually borrow from. You know what I mean? To have your liquid fund to go ahead and get that franchise. If you want to talk about doing that, yes, that could be disrupted. But as far as a model of how to do a franchise, it works. It works well. I'm in the middle of doing 3 of them for some big companies, and I'm not going to. It works well. Getting your 10%, get your what do you call it, marketing fee, getting your royalties, it all works. So, and then also vendor kickbacks and vendor deals, it's a whole gamut. It works. So I wouldn't disrupt that. I would disrupt how do we get into it, and how do we help someone who wants to do a business, but maybe they're not good at starting a new business, but they're probably good at running a business. So we'll get them into that franchise. So yeah, I hear that. Don't know how that's happening, because who has $100 million to have an endowment fund to do that? Free $100 million is sitting there. Who has that? But that's where I would see the disruption of franchising.
I love it. I think I don't think we could agree with you anymore. I think that's exactly the start that's necessary. So what kind of challenges or barriers are you currently dealing with in your work? And how are you and your various teams working to overcome them?
Mindset. People, whenever you hear that question, you usually hear the answer funding, but it's not funding. We don't need, I'm telling you right now, as a business developer, I don't need funds. It's resources, my relationship with people. So, I'll find the right people for the right jobs. You know what I mean? So it's a mindset. It's to actually have us in the community to get out of, you need money only to start a business. You need money only to get ahead. It's not that. It's our mindset. We need to actually get rid of the old and bring in the new mindset. We do that. I'm not saying literally get rid of the old people, because I'm old, but I'm not old, but I'm older. But we need to get rid of the old mindset and bring in the new mindset. You know what I mean? And even, or in between, have those who are not too young and don't know, those are too old and don't want to, let go. But the ones in the middle, that understand that there's a change, you can move. There's one thing is constant is change. And if you understand that, then therefore now your mindset could change. You know what I mean? Therefore now we can adapt to whatever's happening in our business world, especially in the non-for-profit sector. We need to understand that we are a business. Nonprofits, for-profits, still a business. The only difference is the tax codes. You know what I mean? So we still got to run as a business. So our mind has to change. And once we understand that, then you'll be open to make to thrive and scale your business.
Absolutely. So in your work that you're doing now, do you have a set priorities that you're working on?
Wow, that's a loaded question, and that's open-ended there, because like, literally supply chain, TAF Industries. I'm going to name them some names of stuff I'm working on. You know what I mean? Detroit, I'm working on a company down there on Kiwanis. I'm trying to compete with Clory and bring in this company inclusive from Windsor, and try to get 10 stores to go across Canada to have our own beauty supply. I'm opening up rehearsal spaces, working with my team, and just building. We have a building in Scarborough, 1 acre around Scarborough Town Center. We want to go up and build on there for affordable homes for artists. Where we also have studios. I have a studio in Bermuda. I'm working on everything, but it's not me personally. I'm telling you right now, I got a team of great people. Like I told you, you find the right people, you can work with different people, and they're great. So a lot of stuff is happening, but a lot of people are involved.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So I know you touched a little bit on the disruption that's necessary with franchising and providing, the support to get in. How do you feel in general about the future of impact investing and social finance in Canada? So
impact investing, can I tell you that I don't know exactly what that means? Because when I hear impact investing, you know what I mean? I do a lot of bootstrapping for myself for years, you know what I mean? My own business. And that you want to call that impactful? That was impactful. You know what I mean? Investing back in myself, which I'm doing even now for one of my franchises, rehearsal spaces. But also, so can you explain to me, without sounding dumb, can you explain to me more what impact investment is, what you believe it is, compared to what I think it is?
Yeah, so I think in general, when we refer to impact investing, is the funding that's put towards the social impact that's necessary, social justice issues and things like that. So typically when we're looking at social impact investing, it's just like, what's necessary, what's needed, what's not, what do we need to happen, what's not happening. But you mentioned earlier that funding is not a problem for you. So that's why I feel like this is a really good question for you, is how do you feel about it, and how do you feel about the future of it? What do you feel needs to change, if anything?
I got you now. And this is what I think about how you explained it to me now, impact investment, because it's not about particularly an enterprise. You're talking about impact investment of how invest in our community, how it impacts our community, right? More like that. Waiting for our own money, for me, doesn't make sense when it comes to impact investment. You know what I mean? So we want to do well for a community. We want to have programs, whether it's mental health, whether it's legal, like what Dee does, or whether it's on housing, it doesn't matter. We want to have an impact, but the process of doing it overtakes the actual impact itself, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So I rather be a philanthropist and be impactful for one person or one organization that could affect many other ones. Hence why I accepted to be with Support Black Charities, who represents over 135 organizations in 20 countries, because I can be impactful for her to actually do more for others. You know what I mean? So when you start talking about impact investing, it's hard to actually watch the same things happen over and over again, where somebody who has a great feed it forward, or someone who wants to, because of food insecurity, wants to help out, but don't know how to run a business and don't know where to get the money from to do what they need to get done. to be impactful in what they're trying to do. So in a way, it's counterproductive to say that funds that we get that's supposed to help our community is really helping our community. And we're running after those funds. I feel, knowing this now about impact investment, that we need to create and really drive into our earned income programs, drive into philanthropy in our own community, and have money that's no strings attached. So therefore now, and at the end of it, show in a measurement of impact. So because we have to show also what we've done, but having the philanthropists and earn income that be run like a business. So therefore now, going back to the government for $750 million of our own money, my money, why wouldn't we keep that? Instead, that's why the Republicans always ask for tax cut, because they want to keep their funds and not to go back to the government and ask for it. So we don't know that we need to keep our funds, and there's ways of doing it legally. Even with AI, I'm into AI totally now. Dive into AI. Some guy down in the States threw all the information from the IRS into AI. Now they got tax GPT. So now you have a level playing field as that corporation that has an accounting company that pays them millions of dollars a year to go through the code to find them savings. You have that now at your fingertips, called tax GPT. So therefore now, why when you sit there and say, I want to figure out how I can actually, with my business, save my taxes, I can use that and throw it back into my mandates, which is my non-for-profit mandates. So we just need to understand that. So when you start talking about impact investment, I didn't even, you can't say don't go after our money, but you got to say we got to figure out how to make the same effort into going after our money into doing something else to keep our money, you know what I mean? Or keep our money more than go after our money. Let's put it that way, if that makes sense. You know, so
let's do both.
Let's do both. Let's do both. Let's try to figure out how we can keep our money and go after the money that's there, that's ours already. We got to do both, but there's a lot of effort more into that going after it than there is in keeping it. So once again, it goes back to the mindset. That's what it goes back to.
Right. I think that's a very interesting perspective we've never seen on the show, is to, as a philanthropist, you don't get to hold on to it instead of letting go, and you have more control and power with what you do with your money. So I really appreciate that perspective. Thank you for breaking it down.
You're welcome.
And finally, what is your ultimate goal with Executive Power Up? What does success look like for you and your colleagues in the future?
So my ultimate goal for Executive Power Up, especially in the Black ecosystem, is to show not just FedDev, and not just the 38 or 40 associations that we don't need FedDev or we don't need the government, but to show them that we have organizations that don't all just need help from the micro levels or the nano level. You know what I mean? I want to show that we have organizations that are thriving, but there's a ceiling. And so if we could break that ceiling by saying, wow, this jerk chicken company is competing with Kentucky Fried Chicken and has 100 or 1,000 locations across Canada, or this beauty supply place is just like Clory's. You know what I mean? And all our dollars are staying there. And we can sit there and we can measure it by saying our Black dollars now from the supply chain, which is I'm working on that, which we didn't talk about, a supply chain for our Black products comes into and logistically gets delivered to all those franchises that we just built now, and our Black dollar stays in our community longer than 6 hours. So we could do that and show that impactfulness. It starts from not just the ideation, but scaling up our Black businesses in our ecosystem, getting them all out there. Those who are really interested in being business people don't have to have their own business. They can grab onto someone else's that's doing really well and use that and make money from that too. So we can actually just drive those people further across Canada, even to the Caribbean, and keep our dollars flowing within each other. We could probably get to a week, keeping our money flowing within a week. I'm not sure how long, I think the longest is 17 days. You know what I mean? So we need to do that instead of 6 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that vision. It's so impactful and definitely necessary. So I agree with your vision. That was great. Really appreciate all of your thoughts that were shared today. Do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our community?
I do. So I'm going to go back to the philanthropist part. Next month, a lot of people don't know, it's Black Philanthropy Month all across the world. A lot of people don't know that. So our sister, I can't remember her name, who started in the States. So it's August is Black Philanthropy Month all across the world. Canada didn't really push it. So Support Black Charities came up with an initiative called Global Black Philanthropy Initiative. Starts August 1st. What we're doing is it's based off the 17 SDGs that, so everyone who's a non-for-profit fits underneath one of those SDGs. If you know what those are from the United Nations. So therefore now, if you do something about, housing, or something about food, or just something about just people who are homeless, poverty, there's the poverty part with thinking number one. You know what I mean? If you go into number 17, it's more about helping others and helping other associations. So we are going to be doing fundraising for each of those 17. And underneath our directory, all the associations belong to one of those 17. So after, obviously, it's going to go through VX3 Exchange, which is our trustee. After we collect the funds and they do their due diligence, then whatever after the administration costs, we split it up evenly to all those associations with no strings attached to who's underneath one of those SDGs. So therefore now when we win, we all win. That's how it should be. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be we're just raising funds for this particular organization. No, if you're underneath that number one, we're raising money for you also, whoever's underneath that. So that starts August the 1st. I would say go online, which is going to be Global Black Philanthropy Initiatives. We start our advertisement on Monday. Check that out on supportblackcharities.org.
So this is for any of the SDGs to apply to. Is there a process?
Yes.
How is it determined who is on the list?
So it's on our directory because she actually has she brings on Black charities, but you need to come on there, register. There's a free, but there's also a paid one. Register because she's actually supporting them. It's nothing to do with us. It's all to do for the charities. So, but in order to do that, we want to vet. We have to vet because our philanthropists and donors want to make sure that they're not just giving funds to people who are just going to take and do whatever with it. So there's a vetting process. You know what I mean? So and the thing is, we're not vetting you to say no. We're vetting you to see how can we get you where you need to be to get this. You know what I mean? And then so we have programs too that we're going to help you as a non-for-profit have your governance done properly, get your website online presence. You know what I mean? Get your impact measurement tools ready to go. So along with coming on board and being vetted, we want to make sure that you have the right tools for someone actually to give, you know what I mean, and share resources with you, for sure.
Yeah, that's huge. So thank you so much for sharing that resource, and we'll definitely put the link in the description below so everyone can tap into that.
Thank
you.
So
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much for your time and
you're welcome.
Work that you've done over, as you said, the past almost 4 decades. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing so many gems with us today. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, Blessed. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And we just want to close the same way that we began, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we're on, as well as our ancestors, our elders, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. For those who we continue to work with and on the shoulders as we build together, we want to take time to appreciate them. And again, thank you so much, Tim, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in today.
Awesome. Ciao.